So I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I know it was a little short notice with getting it to you yesterday, I believe, or late last night. I think Sean sent out the email, but thank you for coming. I am pleased to welcome to the stage someone who will be curling in front of everyone at the Grand Slam of Curling in October when we host it here, as well as your faithful and trusty curling club manager, Sean Ford. So Sean is going to be conducting our fireside chat, so please welcome Sean and Jennifer.
Test, there we are. So we thought we'd start with a couple rapid fire questions just to get Jen warmed up, because I know that she's...
You didn't tell me that.
Yeah, so dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Neither, but vanilla.
Island vacation or cottage vacation?
Pardon, sorry?
Island vacation or cottage vacation?
Island.
Do the laundry or do the dishes?
Laundry.
French fries or onion rings?
Fries.
Heads or tails?
Heads.
Red rocks or yellow rocks?
Red.
Open hit or open draw?
Both. Hallelujah! No,
Beer or wine?
Wine.
And Ontario or Manitoba?
It really is both now. I didn't think I'd ever say that. I'm a Manitoban true and true, but I've fallen in love with Ontario, so both.
So we might be able to stick a trillium on your back, eh?
Yeah.
So we had the opportunity down at the brink of the falls to talk with Jen before the event here, and she was discussing with me her last couple of weeks, and maybe she'd just like to tell you what's happened to her in the last couple of weeks, because it's not like she just came from her place in outside of Barrie to here. Her travels have been a little bit more extensive, so maybe
Sure.
If you can tell us where you've been for the last month and a half.
My mom is the best, that's all I can say. Yeah, so our season is always busy. This one's been especially busy for me in particular, and just with the new team, and we played a lot, and they're young, and they want to play like literally every day, which is great, but we've got 2 kids, so I've got to find some balance there. But so the last basically 5 weeks, we had the Scotties for 2 weeks, which was amazing. Like it was thank you. It was such a great event, and the kids came there actually, which was just fun, and Brent came, and it was kind of a big family thing, and then flew back from the Scotties, and there wasn't a lot of forward thinking on our flights, so we couldn't get out after the final until Tuesday. So we had a little family time in Kamloops, went to the mountains, but we got back on Tuesday. Brent left for the Briar on Wednesday. And then I received an award in Winnipeg on Thursday, but nobody watched the kids, and Bella had a gymnastics competition on Thursday morning, so I raced her to a gymnastics competition. I catch the last flight I can get to Winnipeg in time for the award. It's delayed. I have no pantyhose, so my mom has to pick up pantyhose for me. I'm putting them on in the car with my foot out the window, and I roll in, and I get my award on Thursday, and then fly home first thing Friday morning, and that's the morning of the storm, the major storm we had here before the Briar. So I had to drive north to get my children, and then drive to London for the opening draw at 7 p.m. And then Skyla had a hockey tournament in Orangeville, so we drove back to Orangeville on Saturday. And then we went back to London to watch Brent curl, and then we went back to Orangeville. I went home on Monday, and then I went back to the Briar on Wednesday. And then we stayed there, and then Brent and I decided on that Saturday, our friends have a home in Hawaii, that we should go to Hawaii, because they invited us. So we went to Hawaii on Monday, whizzed on back, and then brought my mom to say thank you for basically being there to take care of our kids and hoping that she'll do more of it. And so then we went from there to Sudbury, went undefeated at the mixed doubles. Hawaii is great training. And then came home from Sudbury, and now I'm here. And then I'm going to Ottawa on Friday I'm commentating on the WSCF feed for the men's worlds. So we do that, go straight to the Players' Championship, leave the Monday after the Players for Korea for 2 weeks, and then fly to the Champions Cup. And that's why I say my mom is a saint. So there you go.
So it sounds like you don't spend an awful lot of time at home.
I don't. But that, we were saying, because we were talking a little bit about it, and I'm feeling, obviously it's hard to be away from my kids. They're so supportive of the curling. Like I even asked, Isabella has her provincial championships for gymnastics when we're at the mixed doubles. And it broke my heart because it's such a big thing for her. She really wanted to qualify. She was so excited. We're going to be in Korea. And I said, if you tell me not to go, I won't go. If you want me to be there. She goes, no, Mom, absolutely, you have to go. I want you to go. And so it's definitely hard to be away. But I said, I'm going to be away a lot, and we're going to try to plan something fun. And the first thing they said is, can we go to Niagara Falls? So I was saying I'm likely coming back in May.
So I have to go on record as saying that going from Hawaii to Sudbury is just wrong.
I know.
It's not like palatial Niagara Falls anyways.
And you guys had I think a rainstorm here a couple days ago. It was we got 25 centimeters of snow in Sudbury. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we put together a couple of questions for you, and
Okay.
we'll go through those. And then what we'd like to do is we'd like to have the audience ask you some questions as well.
Absolutely. And I've
So-
always said anything goes. I haven't regretted it yet, so ask away.
So who or what was your inspiration to start curling?
Everybody always asks me that. It was never, I guess, who would have been my parents, but I was actually a really shy kid, super shy. I looked at the floor, I was very, very, very shy. And my daycare was at the curling club, and I used to sneak out of the daycare. They'd be shut down nowadays, but I'd sneak out of the daycare, and I'd be upstairs watching the curling, and they'd come and find me, and I'd be watching the curling. And my dad was the most active member at the curling club. President for I don't even know how many years, volunteer of the year, every single year. I met Santa Claus at the curling club. The curling club was such a big part of our life, and my parents put me in sports, helped me get me with my shyness, and and it was a love at first sight for me. So back then they didn't let us start in the league until we were 13, but I convinced them because I was really annoying, I think, asking them all the time. So they let me play when I was 11, so I started, and I loved it. But I played all sports then, and it was kind of the place where I felt super at home and comfortable, and I felt for the first time I just felt free. So I talk about it all the time. It was my safe place. I just felt like I belonged there, and so I just never wanted to stop. And I had success fairly early on, but it was really just a love of the game is why I started, and it's still to this day, which is why I don't retire. It's still the love of the game.
So some may not know in the audience that I believe it's 3 provincial championships, junior championships that you won, and then 1 national.
I think so.
So
I've never
there's
been
been
one
so
for
many you
records.
just can't remember.
No, it's not that. It's more, I'm just so in the moment. I don't think about all the titles. Yeah.
So what inspired you to make the jump from junior curling to competitive curling?
I was fairly competitive right away. Back then, I watched so much curling from the time I was 4 years old. They even let me work in the bar when I was a kid. So my parents would be on the ice. I know it's so against everything of today's world, but it makes me, everybody knows my age because they broadcast it over the screen. It's a miracle that I can curl, I think. But so I used to be in one of the bartenders, her name was Dolores. She was lovely, and when my parents curl, she would kind of babysit us. But my sister and I would wash the dishes, but it was this thing that just went around in a circle, and we put them on and we take them off. We loved it. And then I would go and I'd watch curling. So for somebody my age, I actually understood strategy probably better than most. And we always had curling on in the house. My dad loved the game. And I practiced anytime I could get on the ice, I was on the ice. So I was actually, when I first started, I was decent at it, and I skipped right away. So I was always in competitive juniors right away. We won my first junior provincial. I was 16. So 5 years after, not the first time we won. I think I started my first provincial. I think I was 13 or 14. So yeah, and they didn't have U16 or U. It was just juniors. It was much less complicated. I can't even follow all the U's now. And so it was just straight up, just juniors.
So you were talking a little bit down at Table Rock about the evolution of the slam and kind of what it had done for the players. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what the slams meant to you starting out.
Yeah. So when I first started, women never got to play in an arena. So the only time you ever got to play in an arena was when you went to the Scotties. And then they changed it in Manitoba. We were really lucky because the women, we got enough fans out that they passed something where all of our provincials had to be in an arena. So we got to do that. But the men had the slams, and the men got to play in the slams. And then eventually the slams invited us to the players. So the women, we thought this was like a miracle, like yay. So we played in what we called our slams. So we played in our slams, but they were just at curling clubs. So we play in Calgary. They would just designate 3 events as slams, and then you'd qualify based on that to get to the Players' Championship, which was in an arena. And the women were included. It was a big step forward for women's curling. And then Rogers Sportsnet took it over, and they decided that that women should be included in all the events. Yes. And you think that's been, I don't even know how many years, 15 years ago, somewhere in there, well ahead of its time. You look at all the news coverage about women and equality in sports, and they did it way back then. They insisted the prize money be equal. We got equal playing time. And today, a lot of the times, I don't know if Jenny's here, but I think at least, we're definitely on par, or sometimes most of the time our ratings are higher than the men, which is all because they saw the vision in women's sports and they believed in us. They put the product on TV and they allowed women's curling to grow. And in my opinion, and I've been around a while, it was that decision that has evolved curling, women's curling, to where it is today. And the level of play and the level of competition has improved exponentially, all because of that decision that they made.
So what's it like playing with your husband in doubles?
Well, he used to get mad when if I missed a line call. Oh boy, especially if I made him sweep and we didn't have to. He didn't like that so much. But he didn't really get mad. But it's hard because he's used to being a front ender. I'm used to being a skip, and you kind of just internalize, right? He's used to being a front ender where you can just vent about the skip to the other person. So when he tried to vent about me to me, I didn't really like it too much. But no, in all seriousness, it's great. He's my biggest fan, and I'm his biggest fan, and we're each other's biggest supporters. And it's just amazing to be able to share the ice with him, and to share, especially putting the maple leaf on our backs together. So I'm really he's a great partner. He literally sweeps all of my rocks. I try to sweep. I think it's because he doesn't think I'm very good at it, so he insists. But I like to think he just cares so much that he sweeps.
So with your schedule, that you've kind of described to people, why start doubles curling and just add more into that mix?
Because I got to do it with Brent. I wouldn't have played doubles if it was with somebody else. Because for us, when we go and play doubles, as much as we do curl together and we go to the slams together, our schedules are opposite. He stays with his team, I stay with my team. We don't really get to spend time together. We both love the game. It was a chance to go to the Olympics together, a chance to represent Canada together. And we also got to go and play at these events and have some couple time together. So we really look at it as for us, it's just time together and doing something that we love to do. And the added bonus is that we get to also fulfill some dreams. So it's a pretty cool thing, and it's a great game. Doubles is so much fun to play and stressful though. One shot and you're dead.
Who's the better player?
I gotta say him. I can't say me.
Who's the better golfer?
He's definitely the better golfer, but I'm not bad. I'm okay, but he's a pretty good golfer, so it's hard to. That's a high standard.
So on a typical week in curling season, what's a week look like for you?
We're on the ice every day. So if we're not on the road, we're practicing. But for me, it's driving the kids to school, going to practice, trying to get some work done, picking them up, taking them to their 8,000 activities, and then eating in the car. My car is a restaurant. I don't know if everybody else's car is a restaurant, but that's what mine is. And so it's busy, but again, like, we do what we love to do, and I wouldn't change it. So it's just the kids' lives are busier now. I found it easier when they were like babies, because they didn't have anything else. They're just babies. They can do whatever. And now they have like passions and things they want to do and friends they want to see and birthday parties they don't want to miss. And so, trying to figure out all the logistics behind that that's a lot more complicated.
How often are you able to get together with your 4-person team and actually practice?
It depends. Like when we put the team together, I kind of said, I want to do this, I want to work with you, but I can't come there we played 15 events, like it was a lot. But what we did is I went to Winnipeg for most of the summer, and there's ice there in the summer, so we trained very hard all summer, especially in July, and figured out like a lot of things. We made a lot of technical changes, and then our coach went to Winnipeg often with them, and I practiced with him here. It was Victor to begin with, and then Glenn, so that's why I say our coach, both of them. But I would go, and whenever we would have an event, we fly in a day early and stay a day late. So we always practice before and after an event, and then I would go, like I went there before the Scotties, I went there before provincials. So regularly, but I don't go every second week or anything like that.
Well, you did do a good job of training Victor Shell up, because he took that knowledge and won the world, eh?
I know. He's one of my best friends, though, so he's just a great guy and super happy for him, and he was just an awesome coach.
So with new teams and with newer skips, how would you suggest that they develop strategy and whatnot at the club level?
I always say, and this is something my team is even learning, because I feel like right now, I'm a little old school, so if you do this, I'm sorry. But right now, we have a playbook, and we stick to our playbook, especially when you're teaching, when juniors are taught nowadays, it's like this playbook, this playbook, this playbook. But at the end of the day, and what I tell my team is, a made shot is better than a missed shot. Does that make sense? I know, I think it's common sense. So, if for some reason somebody's struggling with an out-turn run back, I don't think we should play the out-turn run back. There's no sense beating your head against the wall and putting the broom down and you don't make it. Maybe the out-turn freeze is better if you're not going to make the out-turn run back. And then there's the one thing, especially at any level, and I'm not saying it just at the club level, but at the club level, just look at the skill set of your players. Everybody's got some talent. I've seen it, I coach a lot at the club level, I try to do camps. Everybody can make shots, but pick the shots that your team can make. If they can only draw, load up the house, because a lot of people can't make those doubles and triples you see on TV, right? And if they don't have good draw weight, then play a hit. And I look at my team this year, they get up and it's the last end and they have hammer and they just they're and this is an event that I didn't play. And they're just peel because you want to make sure you have a shot. Well, they peeled so much that if they just guarded on Mackenzie's first rock, the other skip wouldn't have had anything, but they peeled and they left a freeze and she made it perfect and then they didn't have a shot to win, right? So there's really no playbook. It's about watching strategy, but also I think the biggest thing is just, as my job as skip at our level is to make sure that all of my players always curl over 80%. So it's my job to give them shots that is going to allow them to curl over 80%. And that can evolve from game to game, ice condition to ice condition, day to day, afternoon to evening. If I see something, you just want to make sure that they're going to hit that benchmark, because that'll make everything easier all the way up the lineup. So strategy is a difficult one because it depends on the skill set of the players on any given day. Sorry, not a great answer. It doesn't solve a lot of problems, but it's the truth. Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
Nobody makes those run backs except for me on Wednesday night.
Don't call them.
So you're actually a member of the Alliston Curling Club?
No, I curled there, but I'm not a member.
You're not a member?
No.
Do you play regular league play?
No. We stopped that a while ago, but I'm all about supporting clubs. We still pay our dues to the St. Vital Curling Club in Winnipeg. One, because I know it would make my dad shine above us because he just loved that club so much. But it's just, it's not that we don't want to support the clubs, but we're not home. Like, I think in April, I'm literally going to sleep in my bed 4 nights, you know, and it's just, so we go and we try to do some stuff at the curling club. We practice a lot in Barrie right now. We practiced at Alliston during COVID because it was open, and great ice, by the way. If you ever have a chance, great ice in Alliston. Icebreakers, fabulous. But yeah, it's just, it's not that we don't want to play, it's just a time thing for us. And if I am home, I really want to make sure I'm at gymnastics and I'm at dance and I see them play hockey, because I miss out on so many things. I feel like it would be too selfish for me, to be honest, to curl 1 night a week.
So you've had an opportunity to play with some of the best in the game.
Yeah.
So what do you say makes a great teammate, and what do you say brings out the best in you with your teammates?
Oh, these are hard. Best teammates for sure are selflessness. You know, like, it doesn't matter how well you play as long as you do whatever you can to help your team win. So, you know, I remember the first Scotties we won in 2005. I didn't have my best game at all. But my team supported me, they believed in me, and then we made that last in-off to win, right? So at the end of the day, like, it's just about believing in each other, supporting each other, always having each other's backs, win or lose, and win as a team and lose as a team. And they're all cliches. But I knew, like, when I threw the draw in the semifinal of the Olympics when we won, I had to draw the forfeit. If we make it, we go to the gold medal game, we miss it, you know, we're scrapping for a bronze. And I knew, make it or miss it, that all of those, my whole team would have stood there and said, there's nobody that we'd rather have throw the last shot than Jen. And there's so much power in that. So, and never taking the blame and always putting the team above your own needs. So for me, a good teammate, I'm actually fairly low maintenance on that. It's just more, I need, you know, people that you're going to support you, that will always have your back, will lift you up when you're down. But for me, my biggest concern is that I worry. Like, if somebody doesn't look, I want to try to fix everything for everybody. So for me, the biggest thing is just honesty, and just let us know what's going on, and then so that we're not worrying, that we're focusing on the game at hand and not being distracted by trying to fix somebody's problems that you don't even know what's going on, but they're just off. So that for me is one of the biggest things, is just like honesty and transparency, so that we can be the best we can be on the ice.
So with the players that you've had, like looking back on Jill Officer and Dawn and whatnot, obviously, you know, they were able to anticipate things with you, and you were able to anticipate things with them. So much history and so much curling IQ. Has it been kind of a struggle? Have you had to catch yourself a couple times this year working with the younger crowd?
No, not really. No, the team's been great. Like, yeah, and it's just, you're just so in the moment, and you're just curling, and we developed a team chemistry kind of right away, and that's what we worked on in the summer. Why I went out there this summer was to try to get to know them better, so they could get to know me better. I'm pretty, like, you could say whatever you wanted to say to me in the hack, like, I don't care any of that stuff, like, I'm very whatever. So I don't need a lot of that stuff. It was just getting to know them and understanding what they needed to do to be their best, so I wasn't trying to guess, and we got to know that in the summer. And so that part was a lot easier, actually, than I thought it would be.
So obviously the last game for them would have been the biggest game of their life.
Yeah.
So nerves?
They're like, well, they do get nervous, but in a good way, you know. They may sweat more than normal, I don't know, but like, no, they're great. They're super present. They're not scared to lose. They're in the moment, enjoying the moment. Obviously, it's upsetting when you lose, but they handled it great, and you know, we were very, very proud of what we accomplished at the Scotties. Not a lot of people put us in that position, and we worked our butts off, and we weren't surprised, but I think some people were. And so, yeah, their big game performance is unbelievable. It's super impressive, and and I think we were all very, very proud of the Scotties. So as much as we were sad, we walked away pretty proud. Yeah.
So what would you say is to this date is your greatest curling memory?
I know, people ask me that all the time. Probably, I don't know. winning in '05, just because it was a game, like I said, I didn't play well, and then all of a sudden I had this opportunity to make this shot, and we win the game. And I mean, at the time, it's made more nowadays, but at the time, that kind of shot wasn't made very often. And when it happened, and my dad was on the bench, and I just remember so many. I remember what it smelled like, the arena, the feeling of it all, and I felt like my whole body was going to explode, like it was a dream come true a million times over. Like it was just this magnificent moment. So it's hard to not think of that one, and obviously winning the Olympic gold, but probably winning the semifinal just because you knew you were going to get a medal. It was really, that was a big moment at the Olympics, and the draw of the button. But like TSN just asked me this at the Scotties, the memory that I have the most, to be honest, it's never been about the podium for me. It's always been just about experiences. And my dad was a massive part of my curling life, a massive part of my life. We're a very close family, and he was the last Scotties that he was at before he passed away. That's when I won, was named the greatest curler of all time from TSN. And I remember walking into their room and just talking to him, and he just said, you know, you're pretty good at this curling, aren't you, honey? And I said, I'm not bad, Dad. I'm okay, Dad. And he said, you know how proud I am of you. And I said, I know. And that's one of the last things we talked about in curling, and it's something I'll never forget because he said it with such emotion and the look in his eye. And he always used to tell me after a big win, his first thing he would say when he gave me a hug is, you done good, kid. And in that moment, that's all I can remember, and that's probably my fondest Scotties moment.
So he probably would have had the biggest impact on your curling career and your desire to curl?
Yeah, his just love of the game, and he loves sports. And my sister didn't like them, so he took me to all the sports and stuff. But yeah, he definitely had a big impact. He came out when I wanted to go and practice at 8 in the morning or 6 in the morning or whenever it was. He would come all the time with me. So he definitely had a massive impact.
So you have an older sister.
Yeah, and a year and a half older. She did curl. She made junior provincials, but
She's not curling anymore.
no, she hung on for boots shortly after that. She's my biggest fan, though. She's amazing.
So maybe when you're not curling and when you have 5 minutes, what do you do outside of curling?
Well, I'm still lawyering, so I do work. In the middle of the night usually, but so I do that. And my biggest joy, and I would give everything up, is and I know most moms would say this, but it's my kids. And I just love watching them do what they love to do and spending time with them. They make me laugh. They make me want to pull my hair out sometimes, but they're amazing. So any spare time I have right now is spent doing what they love to do and supporting them in what they love to do and just spending family time together. And because of our life, they're always up for an adventure. Like they came home from Kamloops, they're like, okay, what's our next adventure? And so they're really cool. I mean, I'm biased. They're really cool kids, and right now, whenever we have spare time, for me, it's just about, whether it's snuggling on the couch or going to New Zealand, I just want to spend time with them.
So when you look back on all the things that you've done, is there something in your curling resume that's unfulfilled that you desperately want? A competition?
No, honestly, the slams are probably my favorite events to play in. The players, I love the players, and I love the Tour Challenge, which is coming here because it's fun to watch the next generation move up and the support and stuff. So I'd love to win as many slams as I can before I retire, just because they're so much fun and they're so hard to win. So I'd love to do that. But in terms of curling accomplishments, God, when I set out to curl, I did it for the love of the game, as I said, but I thought if I could just make one provincial, life would be amazing. My parents tried to get to provincials, and it used to be you had to win your club and then your zone, and they lost a couple years in a row, my dad in men's, and then they played mixed together, and they lost the final to go, and so that's what I remember watching, is that they tried so hard and they couldn't make provincials. So I thought if I could just make a provincial. And then when we finally won a women's provincial, went to a Scotties, I thought, oh my goodness, dream come true. And then we won a Scotties, and I thought, oh, life can't get any better, and then we won 6 more, and you know. So, I don't know. If I could maybe pick one thing, it would be to go to the Olympics with Brent. But I don't know if but that's just trying to add so much icing and gravy on top of everything. Like, I have 0 regrets. I've accomplished way more in curling than I ever dreamed possible. I think for me, it's trying to leave a legacy. Like, I love the game, I think, as much or more than anybody. I truly do. And if we can have any kind of impact on the next generation so that curling in Canada can thrive for years to come, that would mean more to me than any medal ever has. So that's my next one.
What was the inspiration to strike out with a young team? Because you probably could have had your pick of any of the
Yeah, you know what?
players.
It was, I think Brent brought it up for the first time, and I actually admitted to him it was a great idea, so it must have been fabulous. I was talking to him, and I said I wasn't really ready to be done, but I didn't know if I could commit to 4 years. It just, you know, with the kids, and my mom is basically the only one that watches them, and I mean, she's 79 and she drives them to all their activities, and like, it's incredible. So I just wasn't sure. Like, it wasn't just my decision. There was other factors involved, and so, and then we talked about legacy and just the next generation, and I just feel like there's a little bit of a gap there, and I believed, and maybe that sounds arrogant when I say it, but I believed that I could make an impact. I believed that it would, and that I could remember the joy that I have for curling. And not that I forgot it, but I wanted to leave the game the same way I came in, like just loving the game with absolute, complete, and utter joy. And these girls love curling the way I loved curling, and so it's just fun to share the ice with them. It's fun to share some of my knowledge, and hopefully it can make an impact. And I mean, they tell me how much they love curling with me, so I think it's good. But Brent, I think it was Brent's idea to start with, and it just seemed like a really perfect fit because it was 5 people. I didn't have to play a full schedule if the kids had something. Like, I didn't want to miss their first day of school, so I didn't go to that event, and so it just seemed to work out really, really well.
Well, I think it's great that you're mentoring that young team. They're going to get just a wealth of experience, but how did that end up coming about? Because you know, if I thought I could get you to skip my Brody team, I'd call you up and ask. But
I always say it never hurts to ask. So.
Did you make the initial call?
I know I did. I had Carly Carly was going to come with our team to as 5th player to the Scotties in the bubble, and then her team ended up getting in with just the way they did the points. So then she couldn't come. So we had been talking, and she's just a joyful person. Like, she's super fun, and she's a Maritimer. That's all I think I have to say.
That's Carly Burgess?
Carly, yeah. So I just, we had been talking. So I just kind of said, you know, I don't know if this is something that you guys would be interested in. Just a thought. And then she went and talked to the girls about it, and then they came back to me. And so it was kind of like I guess I probably initiated it, but it was kind of a mutual kind of just conversation. Because it was going to be a 5-person rotation, and I mean, that's obviously you know, sometimes hard to wrap your head around. And you know, Mackenzie, who was a career skip, wasn't going to skip as much, and so but they all felt like they would learn a lot and thought it was worth a try.
They thought they won the lottery that day, did they?
I think that's what they say, yeah.
Yeah? So out of the 6 slams, you talked about our tour challenge, and maybe you could talk about what you mentioned down at the Table Rock.
Yeah, so for all of you, I mean, I know you're curling fans, and you can watch it on TV, but it's so cool to be there live, and I know I'm biased, but you're like, the players are right there. This is Pinty's Lounge that you can literally talk to the players between ends. Sometimes we laugh at you and shake our heads because people are a little intoxicated, but you know, like, we might not take all your suggestions. That's all I'm saying. But it's a really great atmosphere, and not the best part about the Tour Challenge, but the fact that there's 2 tiers, right? So there's a tier 1 where you're going to have all the best teams, and you're going to see all the names that you see and watch all the best teams from not only Canada, but around the world. And the shot making, like, they're really hard, I got to tell you. They're very hard to qualify in. Like, they used to be a lot easier. It's very annoying how hard they are nowadays. So you're going to see some incredible curling, and you're going to see some incredible curling on the tier 2. But what you get to see in the tier 2, I guess in the tier 1 too, but the tier 2, all of these players are striving to get to the slams. So you see the passion. You get to watch literally people's dreams come true before your very eyes. And they get to play on arena ice and trying so hard to get to the tier 1. If they win, they get to play in the next tier 1 slam. And like, even for us to go and watch and just see the fire and the sparkle in their eyes. I think everybody knows what I'm talking about when you see somebody doing what they love to do. And that's what this event is all about. And you see that also in the tier 1s. You get a little more trash talking in the tier 1, so that's why the Pinty Lounge is a little bit, kind of interesting. But like, it's not on the women's side, only the men. But come watch the women. We're much more enjoyable. But it's just such an incredible event. It's probably my favorite event. And again, Sportsnet being a visionary with women, and it's crazy because I look at all the other female athletes and what's going on in the media and all of this stuff, and like, people just saw it years ago with curling, and nobody's really ever taken notice, but we were treated equally for over a decade. And it's pretty crazy, and then that equality is now transcended into Curling Canada events and stuff. So it took the first leap of faith, but now Sportsnet had also seen, they want this property to continue. In order for it to continue, we need to foster the next generation. So that's what led to this tier 2, is fostering the next generation, ensuring that we have incredible curling for years to come. And so again, visionary in the sense that they put a lot of money, invested a lot of time to ensure we have a great product for many years, even when I retire, which could be in decades, who knows. So it's just a fabulous event. And again, I encourage everybody to come and see it live. It's going to be a great atmosphere here in Niagara Parks. I'm supposed to, and Niagara Falls, I don't know.
Niagara
The
Falls.
whole region, yes.
So you're not home for long. You're out the door again.
On Friday, yeah. Mm-hmm. Don't tell my kids. I haven't told them that part yet. So that's our secret until Friday morning.
So you're going to go commentate the Worlds.
Yeah.
So you alluded to down at Table Rock. You said I've been at this a very long time. What does a retired Jennifer Jones look like? Does she start commentating full time, or does she coach?
Oh yeah,
or
there's
what
some
does she do?
Sportsnet people I really like to commentate. I'm not sure. I'd really seriously, I'd really like to get into broadcasting. I'd like to stay involved in the game. It would make me very sad to leave the game that has given me so much. I'd miss it, and my heart would ache for it. I'd really like to get into some coaching. And Brent and I looked at maybe starting up a junior kind of academy for young people. Obviously, it's juniors. Ran into a few roadblocks, so I'm not sure how that will go, but doing some camps, maybe some coaching, staying involved in the game. Isabella, our oldest, really wants to be, she said from kindergarten she wants to be an Olympic champion curler. She really thinks you just signed up for the Olympics, though. So she really wants to get into curling, and we just take her out. She's never played in a league yet. So I would probably try to get involved in her curling and coach her, but also try to do some high-level, high-performing coaching. And I do some speaking, and then hopefully get into some broadcasting. I really, really enjoy it, and I love watching the game, and it keeps you updated on the game because the game evolves year to year, and you can only be out of the game so long before it kind of passes you. So I'd really like to stay involved as much as I can.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, and give my mom a break.
Well, I think we're ready for some audience questions. So if anybody has a question, if you want to put up your hand, I think Spencer's going to come around with a mic. All right.
Back there, yeah.
If I miss you, I'm sorry. I'm just going with who I see first.
Hi, Jennifer. Welcome to Niagara Falls.
Thank you.
My name's John. I'm one of the few U.S. curlers here at
Oh, yeah,
Niagara
this
Falls.
is that far, hey?
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yay.
I've been following your career since the very beginning, watching on one of the few Canadian stations I get, CBC. at home in Buffalo. But I wanted to ask you, you were talking about earlier about new curlers coming up, and I'm sure you've been asked this question 100 times, but I've seen when Caitlin Laws, your former vice, left your team, and I know that she went on to become a skip of her own team. But I wanted to ask, when you're on the ice with her, competing against her on these tour challenges, what is it like? Because you have such that wonderful history together. Do you know, like, what her strategy might be? Do you know, like, what she's thinking when she's throwing that rock as the skip at the end? I just wanted to get just a couple comments on what your thoughts are competing against someone you know so well, and yet you're still so great friends with off the ice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. You know what, honestly, so a couple of questions. I do think I know her very well, so I kind of know what she's thinking and what she wants to play, like what her favorite kind of shots are, and she would probably know the same about me. But, you know, like everybody calls a different game, so everybody thinks I'm super offensive. I'm probably one of the more offensive. People aren't usually as offensive as me. But when we're on the ice, we played them a handful of times this year already. Honestly, like, and I don't mean this to sound cold at all, but you don't even think about who you're playing. Like, you're just out there playing the rocks, and you're looking, you know, I love her to death, but when we're on the ice, I'm just playing yellow rocks, and I'm just trying to make sure that there's less yellow rocks in the rings than the red or whatever, you know. So it's been, yeah, we're great friends, we want the best for each other, but when we're on the ice, we both want to win, but you don't think of who you're playing, and it would go if you're playing anybody like Rachel Holman, Alina Petz. Doesn't matter, you just look at it the same way. You're just trying to play your very best, and you don't really ever, or I don't, look at the opponent you're playing, and it's no different. Yeah, just, I mean, it's obviously different. It's not as weird as I thought it would be, though, to be honest. Yeah. Yes, I can repeat your question if you go.
I'm really loud, you won't need to.
Okay.
Mine's a comment, hers is a question.
Okay.
If you ever wonder what your legacy is in this sport, this 11-year-old who has been playing for 5 years ran to me when I came in the door to say, Mom, I got to hold the door open for her. And now she has a question.
Can you go to
If you guys didn't,
It never hurts to ask.
if you didn't hear the question, it was, can I coach your curling team?
Right after she plays fourth for my Brody team.
Yeah. She'd also like to know if you will follow their team on Instagram.
If I will.
Follow her team on Instagram.
I will for sure. Yes, we'll do that before I leave, absolutely. So first of all, the reason I looked down is because you made me cry.
No, that's okay. You made me cry when you were telling the story about your dad.
So.
Her dad, who was supposed to be curling, I don't know what.
He's back
has
there.
fostered the same love of curling in his two children. They practically live here, so.
That's where I grew up, yeah. And so, as a mom of 2 daughters, like I just, thank you, you know. And yeah, I know. Because, you know, I remember when somebody once told me that I was their role model, and I instantly started crying, and I thought, that is the biggest compliment. You know, when people talk about the maple leaf being heavy, that's not heavy, but being somebody's role model is heavy. It's a huge responsibility that I'll never take lightly. So when people come up and say that you've made an impact, I think that that's the biggest compliment that anybody can ever give you. So thank you, and I hope one day that we're going to watch you curl on TV, and we're going to cheer you. No, maybe your mom, I don't know, but yeah. And as far as coaching goes, Brent and I are going to try to do a bunch of camps. We're going to start them, so if you follow me on Instagram, I don't know when we're going to start them, but we'll start them soon, and when I retire, we're going to try to do them regularly. So it might not be a full-time coach, but I will come out and try to help you out as much as I can. Deal?
So it seems that we've seriously delayed our Tuesday night early draw. So I'm going to say one last question from the audience.
Sorry, we were late. I'm
and then
so
no,
sorry.
we're good. And here we have one right here.
I highly recommend going to the tunnel, by the way, if you guys haven't. It's very bad for your hair, though. Like I had curly. It just the mist It is just, yeah. Yeah, but it was so amazing. I was in awe. Like, I can't believe you guys live here. You probably just take it for granted. Not take it for granted, but. Did you really? And then you go down and you see the history of it all. I felt like you were going back in time. And that clock looks like Grand Central Station. I want to get married there, but I'm already married. But you know, like, if I could go back in time. Anyway, I digress. What's the question? We got to get curling.
Hi, Jen. Thanks. This talk about women and girls in sports pretty powerful. Mm-hmm. So looking ahead, and your legacy is one side. When you look back, what key players had an influence on you?
You know, and that's one of the reasons, and I hate to say this, but that's one of the big reasons that I'm so passionate about it. So when I was growing up, we didn't advertise, or we could barely even watch women's curling on TV. We didn't have role models to necessarily look up to. So, and I wanted to be the best. So I chose men because I didn't have that option. And so that's why I think it's so powerful what Sportsnet does, because it makes it so much more realistic. So I actually wanted to be like Carrie Burtnick and Jeff Stoughton, because they were from Manitoba and I watched them and they could throw it hard. They didn't miss, you know, as much as the women did. And like, we barely you'd see women's curling on for 1 week a year and that was it. Whereas the men were on much more regularly. But having said that, we won the juniors the same year that Sandra Schmirler won the Canadians, and we went to Bern with them, and they were fabulous. So they definitely had a huge impact. And then the next year we went to the Thunder Bay Bonspiel. You'd go to the Thunder Bay, and they went, and we beat them in the final. And I remember how great they were about it. Like, it was such a big moment for us. Plus we won like $6,000, which was like crazy. So like, I thought we peed our pants. We were so excited, and like, so they definitely had an impact. But you know, and I look at Skyla, my youngest, who's 6 years old. She plays hockey right now, and we got to go and skate, she got to go and skate on the arena at intermission for the Barrie Colts game, and she thought this was really cool, right? Like, super cool. She got to go out there, all the fans, and it was a big game, so like, there was lots of people there. But then the women came to town, the Canadian women came to town, and they got asked, because she plays on an all-girls team, their team got asked to go and skate on intermission when the women were in town, and she was awestruck. She's like, Mom, they're so good. These girls are so good. Like, look at them. They even have ponytails, and they're skating around, and they're so good. Like, I could be like that. And it really hit me. It was from a 6-year-old perspective, it was so much more powerful for her to see somebody that she could relate to actually doing it. And I think that that's where we're getting to in curling, is that we're on TV all the time. We have young curlers who can see women being so successful at it, kind of evolving the game, and it makes it seem much more realistic. And maybe I'm crazy, but that's what I see. So yeah, I think it's been a really good evolution in the game. Yeah, one more.
I mean, curling's all about friendship and everything at the club level. Are there friendships at your level, at that level? Like, are you friends with those other big teams?
Yeah, there used to be a lot more socializing than there is now, but it's more of a grueling schedule now because you're just playing all the time. Like I go on the road now and I've got 2 young kids and I just can't wait to sleep, to be honest. But no, we are definitely friends. Like, after we won the mixed doubles, like, I got messages from a bunch of curlers, and so like we follow along Eve Muirhead messages, you know, Elena Petz, like a bunch of Canadians. So there's definitely a camaraderie and definitely a mutual respect, and we have some fun and some laughs. And my generation is slowly retiring, and so it's the next generation coming up. I'm in bed while they're having fun, but you know, like, it's definitely it's a great atmosphere, and I think that makes curling special. And I'm going to do one more. I know I'm not allowed, but there was a hand up in the back. Yeah.
I know there's been a lot of changes to regulations, from everything from equipment to 5 rock rule, whatever. Do you see any further changes? Would you like to see any?
I actually like the no tick. I think it's added a lot of drama to the game, which is good. But I think you'll see 8 ends. And that's just going to be television driven. And I don't know, I actually probably prefer 10 ends. I'm not passionate about it either way, but what I am passionate about is not letting television dictate the integrity of our sport. So we'll see how that goes. But No, I don't mind the rule changes. The one thing I don't like is dumping in curling, like when people sweep and then they lift up their broom, and we're seeing a little bit of that. So that's the only thing that I don't really like, and I hope that the rule says you can't do it. We just got to make sure that we stick to the rules. And as far as the lights go on the rocks, like if you're not going to have the lights, and you can't have the hog line, because we can't have people visually watching it, because that was a disaster. So we'll see how that goes. But I generally think it's a good game. I like the game we have, and I just think we just have to make sure that we watch the integrity of it, and we don't sell our souls so that we can have more TV time. So.
Well, thank you for being an absolutely wonderful ambassador.
Thank you.
And thank you for stopping around our club. We hope you come visit us again in the fall.
I will, and we'll probably come practice here, because we usually come practice. So if there's ice, are you guys having anything here? Or is there going to be? I'm assuming
So
there's going to be ice.
we'll have ice.
Okay.
We're just not sure
Yeah.
whether we'll have leagues, because most of our club will be
That's
volunteering.
what usually happens, yeah. Most of the time there's no leagues that week. But I honestly want to say thank you for believing in the curling and the slams and for supporting it. And if you do come out, make sure you go down to the boards after. The players are more than happy to sign autographs, take pictures, and make this a dream experience for yourselves as well, because I know we're very grateful to be curling in Niagara Falls, and we want to make it a great experience for you too. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.